In recent years, movements frequently and inaccurately called populist have gained significant support across Europe and the United States. The alliance between sovereignism and conservatism represent the most coherent path for defending the values that truly matter. The topic we are addressing is of utmost importance, not only for political discourse, but for the very understanding of our identity and the direction of our collective future. At a time when European and international institutions appear increasingly detached from the real needs and aspirations of the peoples are they meant to serve, it becomes essential to stop and reflect on the relationship between sovereignism and conservatism. This relationship can no longer be overlooked. On the contrary, it must be examined and understood in the depth, because it's upon this alliance that the future of our nations may be built. Let me begin with the clarification. There are those who have tried to label our political stance as populist, a term that, in my view, is both reductive and misleading. What we are witnessing today in Europe, as well in the United States, is not just a protest movement against the system, rather is a legitimate reaffirmation of sovereignty, of rights and cultural identity. For this reason, I prefer to term sovereignism to populism. The latter is too often used by the political left as a rhetorical tool to delegitimize those who challenge centralized power structures and entrench political elites. We are not opposed to politics in general. We are opposed to a system that from Brussels to Washington has turned its back on ordinary citizens, jeopardizing not only our cultural heritage and traditions, but also the very foundations of democratic governance. Consider, for instance, recent events in countries such as Romania and France, where the dissenting political figure have been systematically excluded from the democratic process through questionable means, raising serious concerns about electoral freedom. In recent years, movements frequently and inaccurately called populist have gained significant support across Europe and the United States. These movements have emerged in response to a political institutional order that has consistently ignored the voices of the people. This is not just a matter of left versus right. It's a broader confrontation between national communities and elite that has, over time, betrayed their interests. The current European Commission, led by Ursula von der Leyen, embodies this trend. A technocratic project that dreams of a hypothetical United States of Europe and seeks to centralize power even more aggressively in Brussels, often at the expense of national self-determination. Under von der Leyen leadership, the European Union has pursued policies that many perceive as antithetical to the traditions, values, and unique identities of its member states. These include a top-down approach to immigration policy and the imposition of environmental regulation under the Green Deal, which many argue have damaging effects of national economies. Rather than responding to the legitimate concern of citizens and businesses, the Commission and its allies seem increasingly disconnected from social and economic realities. In contrast, we advocate for a Europe of sovereign nations. An alliance based in a mutual respect for the distinct cultural, historical, and political identities to our members. We reject the idea of homogenized Europe ruled by a distant and often uncountable bureaucracy. Strong nations, we believe, are foundation of a strong Europe, not the other way around. In today's increasingly complex geopolitical landscape, marked by the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which has destabilized an already fragile global order, the principle of national sovereignty is under unprecedented pressure. The European Union has adopted a position of near unconditional support for Ukraine, forcing member states to align their foreign policies accordingly. This approach, while politically convenient, risks undermining the autonomy of national governments and alienating domestic publics whose primary concerns are often economic and social. Instead of promoting peace and diplomacy, the EU has assumed the role of an active geopolitical actor, often without adequate public mandate. Turning to the United States, we observe parallel developments. The resurgence of sovereignism and conservative forces is challenging the dominance of political and corporate elites. Figures as President Donald Trump, of course, and Elon Musk have questioned the legitimacy of globalist paradigms and centralized authority. Similarly, Vice President Vance represents a compelling example of how conservatism and sovereignism can form a meaningful alliance against a system perceived to have abandoned working-class citizens. Musk, through his outspoken criticism of Silicon Valley and globalist ideology, and Vance, by giving voice to the American air trend, exemplify as a shared commitment to defending local identity and autonomy. I will also mention Steve Bannon, whose strategic insight led him to advocate for uniting diverse political forces in opposition to the globalist establishment. His call for transnational collaboration among sovereignism movement is one in the Lega party should hit. We must build coalition rooted not in elite consensus, but in popular legitimacy. This is a patriotic struggle, one that concerns the preservation of sovereignty, culture, and national identity in the face of a system that seeks to erase them through unchecked immigration and the promotion of ideologies foreign to our civilizational foundations. Our struggle is not only against political elites, but against a worldview that aims to dissimulate what makes our nation distinct: our tradition, our culture, and our right to self-determination. As Joseph de Maistre eloquently stated, the true liberty is not absolute liberty, but liberty within an order that defines us. The freedom we defend is one rooted in historical continuity, not one surrendered to arbitrary dictates of global order that disregards our identities. Drawing from the thought of Hermann Burke, we are reminded that political change must be organic and respectful of tradition. Radical upheaval, especially when detached from historical context, can be deeply destabilizing. We must instead strive for a balanced transformation, one that preserves what strengthens our communities while adapting thoughtfully to the challenge of our time. This is why we must move forward with conviction. The alliance between sovereignism and conservatism represent the most coherent path for defending the values that truly matter: the national sovereignty, cultural heritage, and the right of people to shape their own destinies. And this alliance is not merely aspirational. It's already taking shape. In Italy, Lega and Fratelli d'Italia govern together successfully with a common vision that is delivering tangible results. This partnership is not fleeting political convenience, but a long-term collaboration grounded in shared values and commitment to national interests. In conclusion, the struggle we face is not simply a political one. It's a struggle for the soul of our nations, for our identity, and for our freedom. Today we stand at a crossroad. Either surrender to a globalist vision that seeks to erase our roots, our histories, and our futures, or rise in defense of what makes us unique, free, and sovereign. It's upon this challenge that we must focus our efforts. Our objective is clear: to continue resisting the centralizing ambitions of the von der Leyen commissions and to fight for a Europe of nations that respects the sovereignty of its people. If sovereignism and conservatism succeeded in finding, as I believe they can and must, the right balance between renewal and tradition, between passion and stability, then together we can finally overcome globalism and restore to our nation the right to determine our own future. Thank you.